If an advisor says this, watch out. We're going to share a lot of the funny things we hear from people who look to work with us, who are coming from an advisor currently that maybe they said something that didn't sit right with them, and now they wanted to explore working with another team who does the comprehensive planning that they're looking for. And so in this episode of Joe Knows Retirement, we're going to be talking about the things to be aware of when you're looking to work with an advisor, or maybe you already have an advisor and maybe they're telling you some of these things, and those may be big red flags, and maybe you're just not sure what to know or what to look for. And so we hope this video will be helpful for you so you can truly get the advice and what you're looking for to help plan your retirement moving forward.
Joe knows taxes.
Joe knows the market.
Joe knows Social Security.
Joe knows income planning.
Joe knows pickleball? No.
This is Joe Knows Retirement.
So my name is Joe Schmitz. I'm the CEO and founder of Peak Retirement Planning here in Columbus, Ohio. We work with people called the Midwestern Millionaires, and those are the people who are hardworking, they're frugal, and they're diligent savers, and they've done so well over all these years. And so in today's episode, we're going to talk about how we look to help our clients and make sure you know what to look for as you're looking for an advisor or looking for something to do moving forward. And if the type of planning that we talk about on these videos or here today really interest you, and you're just looking for a team to serve you, we get clients that reach out to us all across the country, and a lot of them are working with local advisors or working with other firms that maybe just don't do the level of planning that they are looking for. So if this is what you're looking for, feel free to schedule a time with us. You can go to our website, click on the description below. There should be a link there to do so, and we can see if we could help you moving forward here. So one of the biggest reasons we see that people work with our firm or come from other firms is because of our tax planning focus. And some of the things we hear from other advisors are, hey, we aren't tax professionals, go see your CPA. And so whenever you hear this, you really have to question it, because you really have to question, what is financial planning? Isn't taxes a big part of financial planning? In my opinion, it's everything. And that's why we've built our 5-pillar approach here on the whole topic of tax planning. That's why we have a CPA here that does tax prep. That's why, we do tax planning from our clients year round. And because it's everything is, the people we work with pensions, $1 million more saved, the Midwestern Millionaire, they're going to find themselves in higher tax bracket situations throughout retirement. And so because of that, there's going to be more importance on taxes. And so if you're working with an advisor who doesn't focus on taxes, that's probably going to tell you a few things. One, it's going to tell you that they don't do comprehensive planning. They probably only either do investment management or they only sell insurance products. And those are two advisors that I would really stay away from, especially if you're paying a full fee. So if you're paying a 1% fee to just get investment management, that may not be the right place for you, knowing all the other benefits you can get with all the other 4 pillars out there. Investment planning is certainly beneficial, but it's what more art can you get for that. And then if you're working with an insurance salesperson, we get a lot of people that maybe go to a steak dinner around town and they may not charge any fees because they get paid a commission from the insurance product they offer. And so just be aware of that. If they do that, they may not be doing any planning at all and just trying to get the commission, and then you may not hear from them again. But if your advisor is simply saying to go see your CPA, that also tells me as well that they don't really understand what the CPA does. CPAs do tax prep, they don't do tax planning. And so if you go to a CPA typically and you ask them, hey, I want to look at doing a Roth conversion, some may help you, but most are probably going to tell you that I don't have the time, I've got 1,000 clients that I've got to get through the doors here, and I don't know your full situation, or I just don't have the tools, resources to really want to make sure I do this level of planning. If you go to H&R Block and ask them to do that, probably not going to get done. Now, there is some really good CPAs out there that do that, so I don't want to talk bad about CPAs. There is some really good ones out there, but I'm just going to tell you the typical scenario we see with most people that we work with. And so if someone's saying that, that's telling me they're not going to do the full work, the advisor's not going to do the full work, and they're delegating to a CPA who's probably going to tell you that your financial planner should be helping you with this. What we really would hope for is that your CPA and your financial planner are working together to make those types of decisions, that they're in the same place, and you don't have to worry about one calling the other or worrying about one getting back to them. And so that's something we'd always recommend. And obviously, if your advisor is not doing tax prep for you, then there could be a missed opportunity with that, and just aligning all the tax strategies that were done during the year and making sure they get done at the end of the year. There's a lot of times where We've had clients before we had tax prep here in-house where they would go to their CPA and the CPA would miss strategies that we did, and we would catch it when we reviewed the tax return, but a lot of advisors don't review the tax return. And so if that's being done and the CPAs don't know what you're doing with your advisor, there could be a disconnect there, and then it also could just lead to more work for you. Whereas if you have your CPA in-house, you're not going to have to worry about getting all the documents together with all the investments. That team's going to have everything there. They're going to be able to talk together and collaborate to get everything done for you. And obviously, with you being in a higher net worth situation, more advanced tax planning and tax prep are going to be needed to really get the job done there. And the other thing to look out for, what advisors say all the time is, oh, tax planning, we'll do that for you. And we just really laugh at this because most of the people who come to us have worked with advisors for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and they've got great relationships with people. We are not here to tell you that advisors are bad people. Most of them are very good people. They're very good salespeople, and they're just very warm and welcoming. But if someone has not done something for you for the last 10 years, if your advisor has never brought up the concept of a Roth conversion, has never brought up the concept of tax loss harvesting, has never brought up the concept of tax location and making sure our investments are situated in different buckets, maybe Roth more aggressive, maybe tax deferred less aggressive, if they're not talking about tax diversification, if they're not talking about any of this stuff, you're probably missing opportunities, and it's probably not what they specialize in. And so if you bring up to your advisor and say all the stuff I just mentioned and say, hey, can we do this, this, and this? If your advisor says, yeah, we'll do that for you, that is the biggest red flag I'll ever hear. And the reason why is because I don't care if you can do it for me moving forward. I only care why have you not done this for me, and why am I now the advisor advising my advisor what to do. And that's one of the things that just one of my biggest pet peeves with advisors out there is you either need to do the work or you need to really get out of business would be my hope, right? Again, I'm being very strict and harsh here, but it's just the importance of what I believe comprehensive planning is needed for those with $1 million or more. And I just have seen out there in the industry where that crowd is not going to get served the best way possible from all the advisors. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some really good advisors out there, and I think that financial planning done the right way can be a huge value add for those people looking for it. I just want people to be very aware to make sure they're getting the level of planning that they really are paying for and what they deserve for what they've saved so much for. And so that's my biggest hope in going on that rant there. And so the other concern just simply there is if maybe they will start to do it for you, but if they have no experience in it, are you really going to be able to be confident that that's going to get done the best way? So there's just a lot wrong with that concept of, yeah, I'll do that for you now. I just don't love that concept, and your advisor should be more proactive is my hope in making sure you get all of this done. And another thing to be aware of is if your advisor says that you should be invested in mutual funds. So, disclaimer here, not to say mutual funds are bad, not to say that you shouldn't be invested in mutual funds. There's mutual funds out there that have beat the market, that have done really well, and so I'm not here to say that they're the worst thing in the world. I do know, though, that only about half of mutual funds outperform the market, and there's different stats to show that and to show even less than that as well. So it's just truly flipping a coin to see if it's going to beat the market or not. But the main thing I'm worried about with mutual funds is the intent of it. So obviously mutual funds come with internal expenses. And so something that you need to be aware of is that you may be paying a management fee to your advisor, and you also may be paying internal expenses on top of that. And there's some mutual funds out there that can cost 0.5% or even up to 1% or more that you're going to have to pay on top of your 1% management fee. So your all-in fee could be pretty steep just from that. And the other thing to be aware of, there's bigger firms out there, I'm not going to name drop any of them, but they get paid more to offer specific mutual funds. So for example, American Funds is a big one that a lot of people probably know what I'm talking about when I bring up the word American Funds, because there's firms out there that get paid more from 12B1 fees to offer that specific type of mutual fund. So they're going to be more specifically tailored to offer that versus others. For example, maybe Vanguard is a lower cost option, but they're not going to get paid as much for it. And that's not to say that American Funds is bad. American Funds can be a great investment. I'm just trying to make you aware of the difference between a fiduciary advisor and an advisor that maybe gets paid even commissions and sales charges and 12B1 fees off of investments. Whereas independent advisors who are fiduciaries like ourselves, we don't get paid double. We get our management fee. We also don't get paid in commissions on an investment for having mutual funds. So if we want Vanguard's growth fund versus American Funds growth fund, client's going to pay more for American Funds, but we don't get paid more. And so that's something that we have to evaluate to see what is going to be best for the client. And the other thing to be aware of too is where's your mutual funds held? If you have a non-qualified account and you have mutual funds in your non-qualified account, that tells me a lot. That tells me that your advisor may not be understanding of tax planning. They may not be understanding of phantom gains. And so phantom gains is where when you have mutual funds and non-qualified, you're going to see more trades. You're going to see more just movement in there that's going to cause taxable consequences. And so if that happens, you're going to have to pay capital gains and dividends throughout the year and not be able to be more tax efficient. What we'd rather see there is that maybe invested in individual stocks or ETFs or index funds where that gain can be tax deferred, and maybe now you can take the big gainers you had. Maybe you invested in Nvidia at 10,000 and now it's worth 100,000. Well, now you can take that and maybe put it in a donor advised fund where you could avoid any of that capital gains versus paying the capital gains on it ongoing every single year and forcing unknown tax consequences at the end of the year, which makes tax planning really difficult. And if you look at the alpha return of being tax efficient with that, it can be the biggest difference in the world. And then you add the internal expense cost on top of that, it can make a lot of sense to be more tax efficient with the way that you're investing those money. So again, if your advisor just doing mutual funds, they're probably not understanding the advantages of tax loss harvesting and managing those types of accounts moving forward. Another thing to be aware of as well is, and again, this is just on people that are trying to be cookie cutter with their investment approach of maybe saying, hey, if you invest with us, we have to do mutual funds, or we have to do an annuity, or we have to do this. That's one of the biggest things that I'd be worried about. And an advisor comes to me and says, if we work together, you have to be in this product or you have to be in this investment. Something we do with our clients is we sit on the same side of the table with them. And one of the first questions we ask them is, what do you want to include or exclude in their portfolio? And if a client tells us they really like mutual funds, or maybe they do have legacy mutual fund holdings that have a big gain that would be a big taxable consequence to sell it off, we may actually own the mutual fund, even though I just ranted about how much I maybe dislike mutual funds. And so again, it's just about having a tailored plan and not a cookie cutter approach. And so we always sit with our clients there, but then we show them different options of what they could do. And we don't say you got to do this or you got to do that. We're going to recommend what we feel is best, but that doesn't mean the client has to follow our recommendation. And that's one of the biggest things we enjoy about being that fiduciary, of acting in the client's best interest. And so that's something we just want people to make sure they're working with someone with that degree. And so again, there's people out there that are insurance only salespeople that are not fiduciaries, that maybe try to push specific products. Maybe it's an annuity product that could be good, could be bad, but my question is it going to fit within your plan? I'm not here to talk bad about annuities. Annuities can make sense for the right person if it's the right vehicle, but it's not a one-size-fits-all solution for everything. And you really want to watch out for those advisors who recommend to put all your assets into annuity that may tie up your money for a period of time. And so there's a lot of different types of annuities. And so again, this is not to say you shouldn't do an annuity with your retirement plan, but if an advisor is leading with that product and they're trying to convince you why it's the greatest thing in the world, then that's one area that I really want to be aware of. And if they're really looking at income type of annuities or variable annuities, those are the ones that can get really complex and really hard to understand, and you just want to be aware of what you're entering into. And if someone's leading you to do that, are they just there to sell the product, or are they there to build a plan? What we'd really advise you of is working with a team who understands your situation first and then comes to the table with the solutions of what's going to make the most sense within the plan, with reasons why, versus saying that this product has this feature and this is the greatest thing in the world, right? So just be aware of that and making sure you're working with a comprehensive team that can do insurance products, that can offer investments, that can do the 5 pillars of planning that we always talk about, so that you can get a comprehensive plan versus just a product sold to you. And a lot of times you'll see those folks at steak dinners, where they present on a product, they scare you of how market drops, you're going to fail, and just be aware of that as well, that sometimes people are going to use your fear to motivate you to take action on something that's going to benefit them, obviously. Here's a big one. And if an advisor tells you, and this is like this specific crowd we work with, especially those with pensions or $1 million saved or both, if an advisor tells you shouldn't do a Roth conversion, they may be right, but I want to question that. I just want to ask them of why. What reasons do you think I shouldn't do a Roth conversion? If they're not able to give you applicable reasons why, again, they probably don't specialize in tax planning. They probably don't specialize in serving people like you in that unique situation you're in, right? The 2% club we always talk about. Those with pensions and $1 million or more are very unique situations. And so just being aware that if an advisor tells you that, most of our clients right now are doing some sort of Roth conversions. Not everything, but small amounts over time. And again, it's not even about just doing a Roth conversion. It's show me the work that showed me you ran the numbers to show me why I shouldn't do a Roth conversion. Because there's times with our clients, we recommend them not to do a Roth conversion. Again, there's no cookie cutter plan here, but we need to be able to show our work. We need to show them why they shouldn't do a Roth conversion and why they'll be in a better position without it. But if you just simply ask, hey, what about a Roth conversion, and your advisor shuts it down without running anything, that's a huge red flag. I want to see the work, and I want to see what they know about this and what the pros and cons that they see are, because most advisors just don't really specialize in that area. And then the last thing that I really think is valuable for people to be aware of is are all the professionals all in one place? And if you just have an advisor who only does investment management and they don't work with the CPA, as we talked about earlier, they don't collaborate with the estate planning attorney, they don't do the Medicare specialist in-house, if they're not having everything collaborated and doing comprehensive planning, you're probably going to have gaps within your plan, or you're going to be responsible for going to all the different professionals on your own and making sure nothing's missed. We'd rather see there just be one point of contact to make sure everything gets done in a timely manner, but also to make sure nothing gets missed there. So we would recommend you work with a team like that. It's also going to show that that team is going to be serious about your future. And there's a lot of firms out there that don't offer that service level. So I just want to make sure you're aware of what to look for. And it's something I'll warn you about too. The firms who do this level of planning, they're hard to find. And that's why we have such a high demand for our firm, is because the level of planning we do for the same fee as what we're talking about for a lot of these, what advisors are saying here. And so whenever we see someone schedule time with us who already worked with an advisor, typically they're saying these things that we're talking about here. And it's a matter of, do we have enough room to serve them at this point? And so we have over 50 people reaching out to us just every week wanting to work with us, but we can't bring on 50 people. And so we always recommend you make sure you try to work with a team before this whole big demand comes that we're seeing. It's already here, but over the next 10 years, there's 100,000 advisors going to retire. And so there's going to be a huge need for comprehensive planning, and knowing the industry doesn't do it fully is going to be a big gap. And so what we're trying to do is try to encourage as many young people to get into the industry and do it the right way. The CFP credential is growing, which is good news, but there's still only 30% of advisors who have their certified financial planner designation. And here at Peak Retirement, we have all advisors either have that or be in the process of getting that, because that says comprehensive planning. So if you are looking for a team to serve, we always recommend you work with a team who has that credential, who's going to go deep in the level of planning. And so I hope that can be helpful as you do look for help moving forward. And again, don't settle on the advice that we've talked about, making sure you get the work you need. Don't just be friends with this advisor and not want to leave them because you're friends. This is a business decision, and you need to make a decision that's going to be best for you in your future. And if this is the type of planning you're looking for, and you really would like to explore working with our team, and you're serious about getting help, feel free to reach out to us. We can schedule a time with our team. You'll fill out a questionnaire, and we could see if we could work with you moving forward there, or at least try to guide you in the right direction if we do have capacity at the time of you watching this video and scheduling a time with us there. So hopefully that's helpful. And again, just make sure you're being diligent. This is your life savings you've worked so hard for. This is a huge decision to pick a team to trust. It's a huge responsibility, and making sure you find that team that is going to take care of you is going to be utmost importance to protect what you work so hard for. So with that being said, enjoy the rest of your day. And that's all I've got for this episode of Joe Knows Retirement.